Cool. So you can now make yourself comfortable and not have to jump up again by lying on your back, bending your knees, and positioning the feet about hip width distance apart. I only say that because I want a little gap between the knees, a little gap between the thighs. So a little bit of space just to allow the hips to widen a little. Notice in this laid back position, because the knees are bent, we're providing a little bit more support for the lower back. So naturally you'll feel a slight lift in the lower back, but perhaps a little bit more able to unclench, to release the tummy and allow the lower back to roll a little more deeply to the floor. Think about drawing the shoulder blades together so that you're effectively resting on the flat parts of the shoulder blades. It will feel as though you're almost spreading the collarbones wide. And your choice whether the palms are turned up towards the ceiling or turned down towards the floor, which you may find more grounding. As we're in a supine position, we want to send a message to the body that it's time to rest and digest, to switch off from that fight or flight mode, and to usher in an intention to release anything that isn't serving you. So to let go of stress, to let go of tension, to take your time to travel through the body, to mindfully unclench that tension. Whether you're frowning, perhaps clenching the jaw, you might notice that the tongue is wedged to the roof of the mouth. You might feel that you're holding your shoulders a little higher than necessary. Be mindful of allowing all the joints in the body to soften, to loosen. All the muscles in the body to lengthen, unclench. So that you can feel the full weight of your body supported by the floor beneath you. Now bring your awareness to the breath. Feeling the cool air from the tip of the nose along the nasal passages. Feeling the warm air through the throat, over the top of the chest. Finding a deeper, rhythmic action. Inhaling to widen and expand into the lungs and the ribcage. Exhaling to release your body of any residual tension. Think of the inhalation as charging your body with positive energy. The exhalation of releasing your body of any toxins, any negative energy. Notice your temperature. Some of you will feel warmer through this deepened, lengthened breath work. Some of you might find that because we've come to a full stop, you feel a little colder. Just notice how your body feels. Notice how you're holding your body. Notice your exact position. And become aware of your space within the room that surrounds you. Feel again the connection underneath the soles of the feet into the floor. That gentle weight through the back of the hips, through the shoulders. the weight of your head, the weight of your arms by your side. If your hands are turned down towards the floor, take a moment now to turn the palms up towards the ceiling. And we'll just gently wiggle the fingers. We'll gently wiggle the toes. Wiggle the jaw. Wriggle the nose. Just stay in this heavy released position. We'll come back to moving the jaw. Imagine that you're a cow chewing the cud and really exaggerate that idea of chewing, opening the mouth wide, working the jaw. Then change direction as though you're drawing those circles with the jaw in the opposite direction. Allow a yawn to arise if this feels natural to you, waking up the vagus nerve. Then on the next inhalation, lift both arms gently overhead. Now, for those of you who have a little restriction through the shoulders, be kind to yourself. Take the arms wide, perhaps hover the backs of the hands a couple of inches from the floor. For those of us who don't feel that same restriction, take some time to allow the backs of the hands to drift towards the floor, keeping the palms turned upward towards the ceiling. Just noticing any messages back from the body, any resistance, any tension. Gently turning the head now to bring the right ear parallel to the floor. Bring the nose back to centre. Then turn the left ear parallel to the floor. Take a moment to bring the head back again to centre. We'll make a little adjustment with the arms, trying to bring the palms together to create an Anjali Mudra overhead. Take time now to lengthen the arms, positioning the ears between the upper arms as you lower the thumbs down towards the floor. So we're pressing through the fingertips, drawing the shoulder blades together to open through the chest, keeping the shoulders drawn away from the ears as we start to activate those muscles to the side of the rib cage. On an exhale, keep that Anjali Mudra, that pointed fingers overhead, as you squeeze the upper body to the right side, keeping the ears between the upper arms, inhaling to widen through the chest, exhaling, engage the core, squeeze all the way to the opposite side. So it feels as though you're really lifting and lengthening through the side of the rib cage into the armpits. Inhale again to return once more to centre. Separate the hands and again allow the backs of the hands to rest to the floor, encouraging an opening across the pectoral muscles. Sorry, I had to move position there. Someone had just arrived at class. Now let's float those arms back down either side of the hips, keeping the palms turned up towards the ceiling. Draw the heels a little bit closer towards the bottom. So we've still got that bend in the knees. We want to feel the insides of the feet parallel. Push down now into the soles of the feet and lift the bottom from the floor. We don't need to overdo this. 2 or 3 inches is fine. Pressing the shins forward, softening the flats of the shoulder blades back to the floor. Once again, gently rolling through the back of the head to bring the right ear parallel to the floor. Back to centre. Take the left ear parallel to the floor. And return again to centre. So because we've only got the bottom lifted a couple of 3 inches max, We're not feeling too much tension on the hip flexors, we're quite relaxed here. I want to use this slightly elevated position to remind you about core engagement. So on the next exhalation, draw the tummy button in towards the spine. Now, because we've lifted the bottom off the floor, I want you to feel the effect this has on your pelvic floor. So not only are you drawing the tummy button in, zipping the hips towards one another and creating that little bit of contraction in the core, we're also activating that sling that works at the base of the pelvic bowl. As you inhale, relax that action, bring the bottom towards the floor. As you exhale, repeat the action, lifting the bottom, engaging that sling, creating that little bit of a pelvic floor. Lift. Inhale again to lower down. Now, people often say that it feels counterintuitive. They always want to engage when they inhale rather than engage on the exhale. I'll just remind you about that little action. If you do a little cough in this position, when you cough, naturally the pelvic floor will engage. Without putting it in too fine a point, the orifices will close. That's a natural reaction that will happen. So why would we work against gravity by breathing in when we want to clench up? A little cough is just it's just a sharp breath out. So let's slow that down. Inhale, widen through the chest. As you exhale, lift the bottom from the floor, lift the pelvic floor, draw the tummy button in. It might help to even clench the buttocks. It's just a reminder that all of those muscles are connected. Then inhale, release the bottom back to the floor. Wide through the chest. On your next exhalation, we're going to keep the hips on the floor, but this time we're going to lift the right heel, engaging the core, drawing that pelvic floor up. So all we're doing is lifting the heel from the floor. The ball of the foot is still down. That's it. a few panicked legs slapped to the floor there. Now release that right heel to the floor. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, peel the left heel off the floor. Feel that engagement as you lift the pelvic floor. As you draw the tummy button in. Feel that little action as you roll the lower back towards the mat. Take a deep breath in and relax. On the next exhalation, it almost feels as though you're rocking onto the balls of the feet as you lift both heels. That concentration as you lift that pelvic floor up. Then inhale, release and relax. On this next time out, when we lift the heels, we also lift the hips. So an inhalation to widen through the chest, an exhalation to do that lift. Lifting the hips, lifting the heels, lifting the pelvic floor. Now we're going to hold the pelvic floor up. We're not going to hold the breath. We're going to breathe naturally. Then as you inhale, lower the right heel. As you exhale, lift the right heel up. Inhale, lower the left heel. Exhale, lift that left heel up. Inhale, lift both heels down. Exhale, keep the hips up as you lift both heels up. Inhale, lower both heels down. Then as you exhale, start at the space between the shoulder blades and take your time to gently roll down through the spine, easing the lower back towards the floor. Beautiful. So I'm just going to do one more set of pelvic floor exercises while I've got you here. The nice thing is I can't see your faces. Quite often when we do pelvic floor exercises, the eyebrows are lifted all the way towards the hairline. This way no one can see you. So we've done a kind of relatively controlled action. I'm now going to get you to do a fast twitch action. So in the fast twitch action, what we're doing is we're effectively pulling all of the spaces down below, I can't think of any way of saying this, all of the spaces down below, upwards and inwards. So if you think about it, there's more than one entrance and exit down there. So don't be fooled into thinking that you can just clench one bit and that's you doing the work. Let's think of it as 3 separate areas. So we've got front, middle, and back. And then release, back, middle, front. So draw in front, middle, back, then release, back, middle, front. Beautiful. Now try to bring all 3 up at the same time on an exhalation. Hold that there. On an inhalation, let that go. Okay, so the fast twitch version of that, try not to get too hung up in the breath because you're likely to hold the breath. Just let the breath flow as it will. Imagine that pulling up and down is a pulse action. So in the olden days, they used to say, imagine that you're stopping yourself weeing mid-flow. Don't do that because it's not cool. Do this instead. So you're exhaling to draw up and in, holding that little clench, then release. So a bit more of a pulse. We're going in and out, in and out. So it's inwards and upwards, then a slow release. Inwards and upwards, then a little release. We'll do 3 more of these. These are harder to do, I think. Last one. Perfect. Relax that. We'll do the same action, but we're going to take our time with it. So I want you to imagine that when we're doing that drawing upwards and inwards, we're doing it as if we're traveling up on an elevator, up say 4 floors. Let's make it 4 floors. So as you arrive at the bottom floor, you are on ground 0. I want you to feel the doors closing on the elevator, so draw everything up and in. And then I want you to pull everything up to the 1st floor, to the 2nd floor, to the 3rd floor. Hold it up in the 4th floor. Then slowly release. We'll go back down from 4th to 3rd, to 2nd, to 1st, to ground floor. Hands up if you let everything go at ground floor. I don't believe you. I let everything go at ground 3. Come on, I don't believe you. Right, let's try again. So from ground floor, we're taking it up really slowly. 1st floor, 2nd floor, 3rd floor, 4th floor. So everything's really tight and held up. The trick is the slow release on the way down. 3rd floor, tiny release. 2nd floor, small release. 1st floor, bit more. Ground floor, let it all go. That's more like it. One more time. Get in at ground floor, bring it up to 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Now release it. 3, 2, 1, and ground. Oh, it's quite hard work. Concentrating. Do it at red lights while you're driving. I don't know, that was a recommendation given to me and it works. Widen the arms now so that you make a T shape from the wrists through the shoulders, again resting into the flats of the shoulder blades, spreading wide through the collarbones. On your next exhalation, simply roll both knees over to the right side. We'll keep the head in centre. I just want to feel that slight little bit of resistance through the middle back. So the left hip has gently lifted from the floor. That space in the middle back is feeling a little tight. Inhale, fingertip to fingertip. Exhale, engage the core. Roll the knees through centre and roll them all the way over to the opposite side. Keep the head in centre. Just want to feel this in the middle back for now. Inhale to widen from fingertip to fingertip. Exhale, engage the core, roll the knees back towards centre. Take the feet a little wider. So my preference is to line up the feet with the edge of the mat. That gives me quite a nice solid base. On the out breath, roll both knees towards the right hand side. That left hip is going to lift more significantly than before. Take the head and roll the left ear parallel to the floor. So we're keeping that left shoulder blade nice and flat to the floor. We're opening into the front of the left hip flexor, the front of the left thigh. On an inhalation, expand through fingertip to fingertip. On an exhalation, engage the core. Roll the knees all the way to the opposite side. And now take the right ear parallel to the floor. This just helps us keep that right shoulder weighted to the floor. We can allow that right hip to come off the mat. We want to encourage a deeper opening through the front of the thigh into the hip flexor. Nice and gently does it. One more time, an inhalation to make space, and exhalation, rolling all the way through to the right, taking the head to the left. A little bit less time delay this time. Widen through the chest, exhale, take the knees to the opposite side. So because the knees are nice and wide, we're not stacked one on top of the other. So Louise, I think you need to position your feet mat width distance apart. Sorry, I've realised there's two Louises here. That's it. Then engage the core, roll the knees back to centre. Now reposition the feet hip width distance apart because we've got them all the way as wide as the mat. On the out breath, draw the right knee in, place the hands to the shin. If it's more comfortable for you, you might want to position the hands to the back of the thigh. We just want to use a little bit of pressure to roll the lower back towards the floor. Now replace that right foot to the floor. Repeat the action with the left knee drawn in. Just allow yourself to release any tension in the lower back. Then bring that knee back again so that both knees are bent, soles of the feet on the floor. Staying in this supine position, draw the soles of the feet together, allow the knees to roll open wide. So a nice supine Baddha Konasana. Now the first thing you'll notice is the weight of the knees creates quite an excessive lift in the lower back. So try not to, I can't think the word that I'm thinking about here. Try not to overarch the lower back to support the weight of the legs. It might be that you just want to nudge the knees a little closer together if that's causing you too much discomfort. We're just allowing gravity to soften the space in the inner thighs. Staying in this posture, treating this a little bit like a yin pose. The longer we're in the yin pose, the more information we start to receive, what works for us, what isn't so pleasant for us. Might start to get a little bit warm in and around the hip sockets. You might feel that weight, that little bit of dragging on the inner thigh. If you notice that the lower back is taking a lot of the weight, just lift your knees a tiny bit higher. If you can bear it, allow the knees to go wider, taking a little more weight into the posture. Inhale again to widen through the chest. Exhale, engage the core and slide the knees towards one another. Don't rush it because we've been here for a while. Reposition the soles of the feet flat to the floor. Bring the hands down so that they are either side of the hips, palms turned up towards the ceiling, shoulder blades drawn together. Push into the soles of the feet, lift the bottom from the floor. So for this action, you can afford to come into the full supported bridge posture. You can take it a little bit higher than that 2 or 3 inches. To encourage more of an opening through the front of the hip flexors, press the shins forward, lift the thighs a little higher. Notice if for you that means that you're resting more onto the neck. That shouldn't be the case. Try to keep the flats of the shoulder blades to the floor, keep the pressure off the neck, and if anything, try lengthening through the fronts of the thighs, through the hip flexors, pressing the shins a little deeper forward, opening into that space. Again, I'm holding you here a little bit longer than normal. I want to feel that little bit of discomfort come in. Just enough to receive the information to tell you where you're holding the tension. A little bit of heat. Perhaps a little bit of a wobble. Inhale to visualize widening through the collarbones again. Then as you exhale, gently roll down through the spine, vertebra by vertebra, enjoying that slow release as you bring the back of the hips to the floor. Beautiful. Now we're going to lift the left foot up and we're going to park that left ankle on top of the right thigh. And then almost as though we're mimicking the shape that we made with the Baddha Konasana, with the knees wide, we're going to let that left knee roll out. When we let the left knee roll out, we don't want it to misalign hips, so keep the back of the hips square to the floor. And we'll just start with a tiny bit of a little bit bigger opening by pushing down into the sole of the right foot, lifting the right heel. So there's not a big lift here. Then replace that heel to the floor. Push down again to the sole of the right foot, this time lifting the hips from the floor. Now lift the right heel. Keep that left knee rolled open. Now don't let the pelvic floor completely release here. Let's keep a little bit of lift. Engage the sling. Then lower the heel. Slightly lower the hips. Beautiful. I'm just going to get you to stay in this position but reset the knee. So rather than the knee being fully rolled open, I want you to draw the knee in so that it lines up somewhere in line with the nose, in line with the sternum, so it's kind of more towards the middle of your body. On the next exhalation, lift the right foot from the floor and squeeze the knee in towards the chest. So we've done a lot of focus on the inner thighs, in and around the hip sockets, through the front of the hip flexors. This is now giving us a little bit of opening through the left side of the buttock. Oftentimes, if you're tight in the hamstrings, this is an area that requires a little bit of release. And we're just using that right knee to toggle that thigh a little closer towards the chest. Just deepening and intensifying that little opening, that little release through the left hip. Now take your time to slowly lower the right foot to the floor. Unhook, bring the left foot to the floor, and we'll repeat the same actions on the opposite side. So I started with left rather than right this time. So this time we're bringing the right ankle to rest on top of the left knee. We're rolling the right knee out. We're working with the breath as we exhale, keeping the left foot and the bottom on the floor as we just roll onto the ball of the foot, lifting the heel. Exhaling to remind ourselves to do that pelvic floor engagement. Then lower that heel to the floor on an inhale. On the next exhale, we're lifting the bottom up, pushing onto the ball of the left foot, keeping that pelvic floor engagement, allowing the right knee to roll open, always keeping the hips and the shoulders in the same plane. Don't let the right hip drift too far to the floor. Now gently press that heel back down to the mat. Take your time to slowly roll the spine back down to the mat. We're keeping that ankle rested on the thigh. We're just adjusting the position of the knee, drawing the knee in towards the centre of the body. Engage the core. Inhale to widen through the chest. Exhale to lift the left foot from the floor, squeezing the knee in. So again, there's resistance to begin with. Just feels a little bit heavy, a little bit tight. The longer you work with this, the easier it starts to feel. The lighter that space around the outside of the buttock will become. Working with the breath, remembering that every out breath just finds you a little bit more space. Then as you exhale, engage the core, support the lower back, and bring that left foot to the floor. Unhook the right foot. On the out breath, hug both knees in towards the chest, placing the hands to the shins or holding the backs of the thighs. If you prefer, you can gently rock from one side to the other, just massaging over the back of the hips, all the way over to the outside edge of the hip. I like to roll all the way over to my side. Then bring yourself back again to centre. Beautiful. So I'm going to keep the knees up in the air, but I'm going to take care to make sure that the knees are directly above the hips, that the heels are in line with the knees. So we're in an upside down all fours position. So the last thing you want in this position is for the heels to be flopping towards the back of the thighs. You also don't want the heels higher than the knees. You want to keep a nice 90-degree angle. So for most of us, a nice, safe and effective position is the knees directly above the hips. If you have excessive curvature in the lower back, you might find that you need to bring the knees a little bit closer in. That will help to push those weaker muscles in the core down towards the floor. It will protect the lower back. If you're quite strong in the core, if you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, by pushing the feet further forward, effectively taking the knees a little bit further away from the hips, this will encourage more engagement in the core. You'll have to work a little bit harder to stop the lower back from lifting. So find the position where you feel mild discomfort. Then inhale to point both toes away. Exhale to flex the toes up towards the ceiling. Inhale to point. Exhale to flex. Lovely. We're staying in this very simple static contraction. This is another one where time will tell the tale rather than it being an immediate ouch, that hurts. Bring the arms up now, wrists directly above the shoulders, palms turned in towards one another so the thumbs are facing behind you. Lower the flats of the shoulder blades again to the floor. Have an adjustment with the knees if you need to. We've now got the weight of the arms and the weight of the legs being suspended above the core. Draw the knees closer if you need to release the lower back. Take the heels a little further away if you want to activate and engage the core muscles a little more. Inhale to point both toes. Exhale to flex both toes. Beautiful. Now just working with the upper abdominals. Keep the knees in this bent position. Inhale to widen through the chest. Exhale, just gently allow the hands to float back. Working with the breath until you ultimately reach that point where the thumbs are an inch from the floor. If this gives you trouble through the shoulders, try taking the arms wide instead of back. That's definitely an option. If this action has created a little more tension for the lower back, draw the knees closer. That will stop you from overworking the erector spinae muscles. Then as you exhale, engage the core, bring the hands back to that position above the shoulders, then hug both knees in towards the chest. Good. I'm going to keep the knees above the hips again. This time I'm taking the arms wide, so making that T shape again. The arms are rested to the floor, palms turned up. Then we'll have that little twist that we like through the centre. So take both knees to the right. Notice that this creates a big old stretch to the left side of the rib cage. Turn your gaze over the left arm. And your job here is to keep the left shoulder stuck to the floor, to send the breath to the left side of the rib cage. So when you inhale, you're expanding into this space and widening. Then when you exhale, engage the core. That will help you control the weight of the knees through centre, all the way to the other side. Turning the head to look over the right arm. And again, there's that little bit of adjustment as you push the shoulder to the floor, as you encourage that deeper stretch through the side of the pectoral muscles, into the side of the rib cage. Oh, I was a lot tighter on this side than the other side. Inhaling from fingertip to fingertip, exhaling to engage the core and roll the knees through centre. So we're coming back to our upside down all fours position. Wrists again over the shoulders. When we do this position, try to avoid lifting the shoulders from the floor. It just puts tension into the neck. So imagine that you're sinking the shoulder blades back to the floor, that you've kind of got the weight of the arms on the shoulders rather than through the neck. And we'll keep the knees bent. Find that right angle position again. Keep the left knee in that right angle position and start to extend and lengthen the right leg forward. Rest that right heel an inch from the floor. Again, you can toggle the left knee closer if the lower back is giving you a little bit of trouble here. Inhale to widen through the chest. Exhale, engage the core, draw the tummy button in, lift the pelvic floor. On the next inhalation, point the toe away. On the exhalation, bring the foot to flexion. On the inhale, point away. On the exhale, come back to flexion. Now draw 3 little circles with the right toe. Change direction, take those circles the opposite way. Beautiful work. Inhale to point the toe. Exhale, come to flexion. Bring that right knee in. And I think you've earned a little hug. Beautiful. Well done for keeping the faith there. So let's resume that position, knowing that we're going to do exactly the same on the opposite side. So the right knee will remain bent this time as you extend and lengthen the left heel forward. Try to get that heel an inch from the floor. The top tip here is when you're engaging the core, remember to lift the pelvic floor. All of that big sling will help. Inhale to point the left toe. Exhale to flex. Inhale to point. Exhale to flex. 3 circles in towards the body with the right toe. 3 circles the opposite way. Bring the foot back to flexion. Exhale, engage the core. Roll that knee in. Hug both knees towards the chest. Beautiful. A little bit of a break from all the core action. Replace both feet to the floor. Reposition the hands either side of the hips so that the chest remains open. Push down into the soles of the feet, lift the bottom. You're back into your supported bridge pose. Let's just perfect the shape here. So in your supported bridge pose, you kind of want to avoid the bottom drooping down. So rather than shooting the hips up and overextending in the hip flexors, let's think about pressing the shins forward. Feel that lengthen happen through the front of the thighs. Visualize again opening through the chest. Inhale to lift the arms overhead, resting the backs of the hands to the floor. So knees are hip width distance apart. Soles of the feet are equally weighted from the big toe mound all the way through to the little toe. Inhale to press the shins forward, lifting the thighs higher. On the exhale, start the roll down from the space between the shoulder blades. This will cause a little bit of resistance through the shoulders, through the side of the rib cage. Try to resist the temptation of lifting the arms up. Get those hips to the floor. Then as you exhale, roll both knees in towards the chest. A little figure of 8 shape here, so rolling the knees above the hips, making a figure of 8 position. Then as you return to center, separate the knees a little. Imagine that you're stirring the knees into the hip sockets. So the knees will come apart, then come back together again. And change direction. Take that hip action the opposite way. Beautiful. We're coming back for one last time into our upside down all fours position. Knees above hips, wrists above shoulders, smiles on our faces, cores engaged, and pelvic floors lifted right up. On the next exhalation, extend the right heel forward, take the left arm back, rest the thumb and the heel an inch from the floor. So that left knee remains bent. You know you can draw it in closer if your lower back is complaining. We're going to do a little pulse here. We're going to lift the heel and the hand to a count of 3, 2, and 1. And because I love the number, we're going to do it again. 3, 2, 1. One more time. 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. We're not in a rush. We're perfectly in control. We're going to take our time to slide the right knee in back gracefully. Left arm back up. Switch over to the opposite side. So left heel extended forward, right arm back. Shoulders and hips remain square. Heel and thumb an inch from the floor. Engaging the core, lifting the pelvic floor. Then nice and happy as we do that. 3, 2, and 1. 3, 2, and 1. One more time. 3, 2, and 1. Again, no rush. Take your time to gracefully slide back to center. Take your arms back out to that T-shaped position so the chest is wide, there's no tension in the shoulders. On the exhale, roll both knees to the right. If you don't need to take the head to the left, then keep the head in center. We only really use that head roll if we feel that the left shoulder is peeling off the floor. Inhale from fingertip to fingertip. Exhale, engage the core. Lift the weight of the knees up off the floor, then roll to the other side. Gorgeous opening here through the side of the rib cage. Those pectoral muscles really feeling the benefit of this extra weight. Inhaling from fingertip to fingertip. Exhaling to engage the core. Rolling back once more to centre. Replacing both feet on the mat, heels hip width apart. A moment to lift the bottom up, to push the hips over to the left side. Then replace the back of the bottom on the floor. So remember, all we're doing here is we're just setting the hips out away from the midline of the body. Beautiful. Now lift the left heel up, pop the left ankle on the outside of the right knee. Now we're going to take that left knee all the way over to the right side. So we're traveling a little bit further, really feeling this through the side of the waist. Turning the gaze again along the left arm. For most of us, this will be enough of a stretch. We're finding a nice release through the middle back, a gentle twist through the belly into the lower back. I can really feel it around the outside edge of the left buttock. The outside of the left thigh is getting in on the action. And if you now bring your right hand to rest on top of that left thigh, try to make sure you're slightly above the bent knee. Apply gentle pressure, drawing that left knee closer to the floor. It's just giving you that little bit more opening, a little bit more release into that left side of the hip, the buttock. Willing that left shoulder to stay nice and soft to the floor. Now remove the hand that's providing that extra weight. Take it back out to make that nice wide T shape. Engage the core. Roll the knees through centre so the right leg's effectively lifting the left leg up and over. Reposition the left foot on the floor. The first shuffle brings the hips back to centre. The second shuffle takes the hips over to the right side. So same action, opposite leg. Make sure that you've got the left ankle on the right knee. No, I've done that wrong. Right ankle on the left knee. I've repeated the same one again. And roll the right knee all the way to the floor. Oh yeah. Turning your gaze over the right arm, that's what's going to help keep that right shoulder relaxed, soften the neck. You kind of want to imagine that right knee is becoming heavy and almost like a magnet being drawn to the floor. It's not likely that you've got the knee all the way to the floor without a little bit of help. So we'll recruit the left hand, place it on top of the thigh, and press that knee a little bit deeper. Rosina, you're able to let your hips go all the way over. I don't know if you can see the shape I'm making, but I'm fully on the floor. Your knees are still bent and upright. You want a full twist going on. Ooh, now you're talking, Mama. You'll be glad you've done that. You're like, I'm not so sure about glad. Now inhale, fingertip to fingertip, widening the arms back out to make the T shape. Exhale to engage the core, roll the weight of the knees back through centre. Unhook the right leg. First shuffle, back to centre. Second action, rather than a shuffle, draw both knees in towards the chest. Your choice, whether you do a little rock and roll, whether you like a little figure of 8. So I'm telling you now, if you had any tension in your hips tonight, that will be gone. Come back again to centre. And I feel as though we haven't actually moved from this position all night, but I'm going to lovingly now deliver your Shavasana still in this position. So because we've done quite a lot of strengthening for the core, because we've released tension in the lower back and the middle back, even if you don't normally do it, just try to take the legs forward so that you can find a full Shavasana position. You know yourself if this will create too much lift for you in the lower back, and if you have to return to bent knees, then do so. But if you can, it'd be really nice to let the legs become heavy. Some of you might benefit from rolling up a blanket or pillow cushion behind the knees, just so that you can let the weight of the legs go. Rather than having the hands all the way down by your side and feeling very tight, let's again just encourage the arms to go a little bit wider, creating a lovely T shape, feeling the weight through the upper body, through the full length of the legs, the shoulders, the back of the head, release to the floor. Bring your awareness once more to the breath. And it's likely that you'll still be feeling quite a lot of warmth in and around the belly, in and around particularly the back of the hips and into the lower back. So take some time to send the breath deeper through the body, all the way down through the full length of the legs, bringing a sense of balance back to the body. Follow the breath to bring your focus to the soles of the feet. Relax the right foot. Relax the left foot. Feel both feet fully released and relaxed. Relax the ankles, the calves and the shins, softening the lower legs here as you release the weight of the ankles, the calves and the shins into the earth beneath you. Soften in and around the knees, paying particular attention to the space at the back of the knees. As you release here, feel the inner thighs soften. Imagine the inner thighs rolling outward. Tune into the weight of the right thigh, softening the top of the thigh, the back of the thigh. Tune into the weight of the left thigh, releasing the front of the thigh, the back of the thigh. Feel the weight of both legs now. So heavy. Feel that weight through the hips, through the pelvis, across the back of the hips. Take a pause here to imagine sending the breath in and around the right hip socket, in and around the left hip socket. Visualize the breath between the hip points, the whole of that space in your pelvic floor, soft and heavy. Notice the weight of your spine, tracing a line all the way up to the back of your neck, From that central line, feel the space at the side of the rib cage, across the back of the rib cage, over the front of the rib cage. Notice every inhalation creates a widening and expansion. Every exhalation draws the weight of your body deeper still into the earth beneath you. Pausing once more at this point to notice the effect of the breath in and around the shoulder sockets. Inhaling in and around the right shoulder. Feeling that release in and around the left shoulder. Inhaling to feel the space across the collarbones over the front of the chest. Exhaling again to anchor the weight of your body into the earth. Your arms so heavy. Your fingers fully relaxed and with ease. Even if you wanted to, you couldn't lift the weight of your body from the floor. The back of your head feels so heavy. All the muscles of your face completely relaxed. Notice your breath. Just notice the pace, the rhythm of your breath. Feeling your breath slowly enter and leave. Drawing in positive energy, recharging your batteries. Releasing any toxins, any self-limiting beliefs. Reminding yourself to direct the breath all the way through the full length of your body. Drawing your breath to the palms of the hands, sending the breath to the soles of the feet, feeling your breath all the way to fingers and toes. Remaining aware of your space in the room that surrounds you. Remaining aware of the familiar sounds outside the room. Noticing the temperature of your body. The cool air in the room against your face, your hands. and your feet. There's no rush. As you slowly start to return sensation to the hands, to the feet, waking up the muscles of the face, trying a little smile. Taking a moment for a long stretch through the body. Maybe hugging the knees to the chest. Taking your time to make your way over to one side. Pausing there to blink the eyes open. Then return again to a comfortable seated position. I think some of you just wanted to stay asleep there. I'm sorry. Now bring your hands to an Anjali Mudra. Touch to the head for kind thoughts, to the lips for kind words, and to the heart for kind intentions. The light in me honours the light in you. Namaste. Beautiful work. You see, it all felt very floaty light. I'm telling you, tomorrow when you cough, you're going to feel it in your core. That's my everlasting gift to you. So lovely to see you all. Thank you very much. I'll see you next week. Lots of love.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.